Hey guys, welcome back to yet another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day and above all else that you're looking after yourselves and one another. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached day three of our 31 perfect albums. I am joined again by Bill Schuster. How's it going, Bill?
Awesome.
Ken Cheshire. How's it going, Ken?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
And the one and only Mr. Jim Bricker. How you doing, Jim?
Muy bueno, mi amigo, muy bueno.
Perfect, perfect. Which is the theme of this episode, guys, of this series. We are
Hey,
going to be counting
That's
down
right.
our 31 perfect albums, ladies and gentlemen. We have reached, as I said, day three. So, as is customary with these episodes, I'm going to pass the virtual mic over to Mr. Bill Schuster, and he'll give us his perfect album for day three.
All right. For the second and final time, I'm going to take a detour back into the jazz world again.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
I had so many jazz artists I considered. I left out Charles Mingus, which was painful, and Sarah Vaughan, which was painful, and so many others. But
like giving
I
up the
couldn't leave
right.
out the First Lady of Song. Uh,
hey,
we're going to 1961. No, it's not a songbook album, and no, it's not a live album, which were her most popular albums during this era. It's Clap Hands, Here Comes Charlie. Uh, this is, along with songs from Let No Man Write My Epitaph, probably my favorite Ella album. And it's not necessarily the individual songs, it's just the way the songs flow together, the way this four-piece band plays. Usually in the world of jazz, I like brass, I like woodwinds, I want trumpet, sax, trombones, flute, clarinet. There's none of that. This is piano, guitar, bass, drums, and Ella,
Yes.
who is an instrument all by herself. So it's fairly simple instrumentation, but immaculate. This, it came in what I think is the sweet spot of her career. She'd been doing it since the 30s, basically, with Chick Webb's orchestra. So she had enough years in experience by this point that she knew exactly what she was doing. And her instrument, her voice, had not started eroding yet. So she was right at the perfect spot in her career here, I think, in the mid 50s to the early 60s. And just about everything she recorded in this period, not just the songbooks or the Ella in Berlin or any other live album like that, but everything she recorded was gold in this era because her voice was untouchable. And Norman Granz didn't let her play with second rate people. He brought the best to play with Ella because Ella was, I mean, that was his baby. That was his star. Norman was a big Ella fan, had been trying to sign her for the longest time. Um, and he finally did. And it worked out quite well for both of them, obviously. Uh, this album starts off with Dizzy Gillespie classic, A Night in Tunisia,
mm,
which I think is possibly my favorite version, better than any of Dizzy's own versions, better than the Art Blakey version. And that's saying a lot because there's some excellent versions out there, but there's just something magical and otherworldly about this particular version. She does certain standards here. We got Round Midnight, Stella by Starlight, of course, the title track, Clap Hands, Here Comes Charlie, which is a bit more upbeat than some of the songs on here. Other than a few songs like Jersey Bounce, Music Goes Round and Round, there's a lot of ballads on here, a lot of slower, mid tempo, more songs like the kind of stuff you would hear in a nightclub, basically, a smoky nightclub, and just kick back and chill. And I don't mean that in a Muzaki sort of way at all. This
mhm.
is high class stuff all the way. Um, So if you've never heard this, if you've only listened to the songbooks, which are obviously highly recommended, uh, by all means, check out Clap Hands, Here Comes Charlie. I think it's one of her best.
Who were the musicians on that one?
All right. We have, let me see here, Lou Levy on piano, Herb Ellis on guitar, Joe Mondragon on bass, and of course, Stan Levy on drums.
Mhm.
I'm familiar with two of those guys, with Ellison and Levy. Yeah. Cool. I'll have to listen to that one.
Yeah, it's pretty much the peak of her voice. So yeah, if you like Ella and you haven't heard it, it's highly recommended.
Cool.
Perfect. Perfect.
That's the idea.
That's the idea. Good choice. Okay, Ken.
I'm going to venture into the area of folk at this point.
Okay.
A young artist at the time, only released 3 albums. Um, if you're not familiar with his life story, it's very sad and tragic. From February of 1972, Nick Drake's Pink Moon. Uh, a single album, 6 songs on side one, 5 songs on side two, yet it still only clocks in at 28 and a half minutes.
Really? Okay.
Unlike his first 2 albums, this is stripped down instrumentally. He is the only musician on the album. Many of the songs are acoustic guitar only. When there is a little bit of piano, he overdubbed the piano himself. Um, most of his popularity happened after he passed away. So people discovering it after the fact, and over the last 20 years, he's been getting the recognition that I think he deserved, and I wish he'd have gotten during his lifetime. He suffered from a mental illness. Every time he put out an album, it just didn't do anything, no good reviews or whatever. And that just started him on a downward decline emotionally and mentally, to the point that it was difficult for him to even go on stage or give interviews or whatever. He just withdrew more and more. Um, I discovered the song Pink Moon from a Volkswagen commercial. It's
Really?
one of those, and I think there was another one that I heard too, but just hearing that song Pink Moon on that commercial is like, whoa, I've got to Google what this is. And I
That was
and
about
I
what,
did
like 10,
immediately.
15 years ago when that came out, that Volkswagen ad?
Probably so. Yeah,
Yeah.
at least probably 15 years ago. Um, so instead of me wanting to buy a Volkswagen, it just made me want to go out and buy this album. Um, but the first 2 albums he uses full band, full instrumentation, and those are great too. There's a wonderful box set out with all 3 albums and a fourth album with other studio takes that didn't make it on the album. But Nick Drake was a wonderful artist and is one of those examples of great artists that are not recognized during their lifetime that ended up in tragedy. And one of those you see on social media, which of these dead artists would you like to bring back? And he's one of them. Him and Jimi Hendrix are my choices for that. I'd like to have really seen where he would have gone from there, because this album it's moody. Um, the lyrics are very introspective. It's to listen to it and really focus on it. It's very impactful, but at the same time, the music itself incredibly melodic, and it's just like sitting in a room with a guy with a guitar. It's very intimate, and it's uh, some of the best 30 minutes you'd ever spend with music. I love it.
You have to check that out.
I second that.
All right, Jim, over to you.
What's that tone for,
Over to you.
Armando?
No, no tone.
Okay.
I'm just waiting
Uh,
with
okay.
anticipation.
Oh, all right. My day three is also a 30-minute album. This one has 13 tracks, and it's pretty much 180 degrees in tone from Pink Moon. This is from 1964. I don't know, and this band that people were beginning to kind of hear about, they did a little movie that goes along with this too. This is Hard Day's Night. Um,
What was the
it's
band again?
unbelievable.
Sorry.
What's that?
What was the band name again? Sorry.
Oh, my notes are all garbled. I can't read it correctly.
Okay, okay. Hard
Um,
Day's Night.
Employment
My
or
apologies.
something.
I don't know. So all right, calm down. So it's unbelievable to me how much is packed into these 30 minutes. So this is the first of the Beatles albums where all the tracks were written by Lennon and McCartney. So no covers on there. And there's just not one clunker in this lot at all, hence perfection. Um, some of their most beautiful ballads and harmonies that they've ever done are on this album. If I Fell and I Love Her would be the exhibits A and B about that. Obviously it starts off with A Hard Day's Night, which is a great rockin' tune. Tell Me Why is another great one. You Can't Do That from side two. Um, it's it, it it's not unbelievable, but it's remarkable that they came from you know the clubs in Hamburg and Liverpool, and within like 2 or 3 years they're producing discs. They're writing all their own tunes. They're performing all their own tunes. I'm sure that there's a great deal of this um, polish that's needs to be accredited to George Martin, the producer. Um, but A Hard Day's Night it's just kind of this minor miracle of an album. It just out of nowhere, as the Beatles were going to go on to do, obviously in their career, it's kind of they throw the gauntlet down, and from here, the expectation was as an artist, are you writing all your own tunes? Can you perform all your own tunes? I mean, they
Yeah.
this early in their career, their third album, they're changing the game. They're dictating the rules that popular music would begin to follow from there on in. And yeah, of the original four albums, this is the one that stands out the strongest and the highest, just in terms of overall quality and just sort of, we were talking about in an earlier episode about understanding Sergeant Pepper in its context. This is another album, while it's not as mind blowing from a production standpoint, you don't have A Day in the Life on here, but you've got other things which you need to kind of understand in context that this is, like I said, it's throwing a gauntlet down and changing the game. And I'd be hard pressed to find an album that's got 30 minutes and 13 tracks that's just this perfect. So, Four Lads from Liverpool.
Yep. Yep. I believe I remember hearing about the Beatles. But yeah, that's a good
Mhm.
choice. It's a really good choice.
I hear the
Very good
kids these
choice.
days think they were the first boy band. That always
Well,
makes me roll my
technically,
eyes.
yes.
Technically,
Paul McCartney
One
was
of
in a
my
band before Wings. I mean, that's what I heard,
I know.
as a
Yeah, it's like
teenager.
it's such a surprise, right? He
or
did what
McCartney and
before
Lennon
Wings?
actually were in a band together.
Yeah,
Go
exactly.
figure.
Yeah.
Okay. No, it's a good
There are a
choice.
couple examples on this album of something that I loved when they did, when they would just at the very beginning would just jump right into the song "Can't Buy Me Love."
Oh,
There's
yeah.
no intro to it. It's just boom, you're off and
Yeah.
running.
Yeah.
And it's just so good. So good.
Yeah. Well, no, it's a good choice. It's a good choice. My pick for day three of our 31 Perfect albums is Aqualung by Jethro Tull. released March 19th, 1971 through Reprise originally in Chrysalis Records, eventually. Um, 11 tracks. Uh, 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 how can I put this? It's not a concept album, but the songs do have a bit of a thread running through them, a theme running through them. Separated into two parts. You have side one of that was dubbed Aqualung and side two dubbed My God. Just amazing. Heavy guitar work from Martin Barre on this. I've always said that Ian Anderson plays the flute like a guitarist does a guitar solo.
Mhm.
Just really inventive. Just every song on this album is fantastic. The title track, Cross-Eyed Mary, is a fantastic, track. And sorry, I was also going to say, Ian Anderson's vocals on this album are very heavy, like they're almost like harsh. Like he gets really, it almost goes over the top with his vocal delivery on some of the tracks. Other songs are fantastic too. Cheap Day Return, Mother Goose, Wandering Aloud, Up to Me, which ends side one. Side two starts off with My God, Hymn 43, which is a heavy track,
Mhm.
which was a single. You know, the brief interlude, I call it an interlude of Slipstream, Locomotive Breath, and ends with Wind Up. Now, it's interesting to because when I read up on this, Ian Anderson got mad at the critics because they the critics called this album a fantastic progressive rock album, and he never thought of himself as a progressive rock artist. He actually got pissed off at the journalists that would say this, so he purposely would go on to write, the sidelong epics that would end up becoming Thick as a Brick and A Passion Play. Um, if you guys out there are able to get the reissued box set edition of Aqualung that has been remixed by Stephen Wilson, so brilliantly done. So please get your hands on it. It is available quite inexpensively for like $60. If it's still available, please get it. A lot of these box sets, or all of these box sets with Jethro Tull, once they're out of print on the initial run, you're looking at paying $350 for uh, one of these editions, and that's from a secondary seller, not even from Amazon.ca or .com or .uk. So I just find that this album, Aqualung, top to bottom, it rocks in spots. It's very reflective in some spots. It's just fantastic. And not all of these albums that you pick that are perfect have to be, deep and, philosophical and meaningful. They just have to make you feel good. And this album to me makes me feel good from top to bottom. So that's my third perfect album, day three of 31 perfect albums, guys.
That's much like Who's
Very
Next.
good.
It's one of those
Mhm.
albums that radio tried to kill but didn't succeed because the
Yeah.
album's just too wonderful.
Yeah.
Overplayed doesn't ruin it. At least it doesn't for me.
No,
So,
no.
yeah,
I mean,
wonderful.
all of these songs, like the title track, Cross-Eyed Mary, Mother Goose, Locomotive Breath, they're still FM radio staples.
Yep.
K97 here in Edmonton. Well, I mean, when you hear and these songs are unmistakable. I mean, when you hear the opening riff of Aqualung, you know who the hell it is.
Mhm.
You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
It's like, and they're
Yeah.
played all the time. They'll
I
never
heard
go.
it in Trader Joe's the other day. They were playing Aqualung through their in-house music system. I'm like,
There
you
you
go,
go.
Trader Joe's.
There you go. So, I mean, these songs are part of the music fabric that is out there, right?
Mhm.
And they're never going to go away, which is why it to me it's a perfect album.
Yeah,
So
too bad 71 wasn't a good year for music. It's
Yeah.
it's a damn shame,
I know, But on a side note, very seriously, when you look at the list of albums that came out between 1970 to say 75,
Mhm.
the list is unfucking believable. I'm sorry, I'm gonna swear again. It's unbelievable how good those albums are, right?
Yeah.
and from all walks of genres in terms of like rock and jazz fusion, and it's just folk. I mean, the talent was there. The well was not dry yet. So
Yeah.
60s planted the seeds, and the 70s just exploded into a crop of everything everywhere. Just wow. Yeah.
yes, this was where this was a time where people wrote their own material and performed them live. So we won't go there. Okay. Okay.
But you did.
I touched on it very lightly. Okay, we won't go there.
Oh, okay. All right.
I did not mention
Kurt
Taylor
Rail,
Rail.
back
Swift.
away.
Okay, okay. No Taylor Swift. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Day 3 of our 31 Perfect Albums. Please, again, put your comments down below, down there in the comment section, what your favorite album was for, 71, what any year, any decade that, that you happen to find interesting or relate to. Please let us know what your comments are and what your opinions are. Again, no right or wrong answers, just opinions. And again, we'd like to get some dialogue going about these selections. So for Bill, Ken, and Jim, I'm Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys having a good day. Signing off for now. We'll see you soon with episode 4. Bye for now.